Welcome to session 3 of the podcast guesting masterclass. We're talking today about how to repurpose your podcast interviews. I am your host, Jessica Rhodes, the founder and CEO of Interview Connections. We are the world's first ever and done for you podcast booking agency. Since 2013, we have booked over 50,000 podcast interviews for more than 1,000 coaches and entrepreneurs. What you have learned so far, let's do a quick recap because we are right smack dab in the middle of the masterclass. So far this week, we've covered how to turn podcast interviews into dream clients. Session 1 was all about the 3 main buckets of turning podcast interviews into dream clients, why it works, and how to do it. And then session 2 was on the art of being an unforgettable podcast guest. You can find all the replays until January 31st at interviewconnections.com/replays. So if you need to catch up, go there, watch the recordings. Now let's talk about how to multiply your results and 10x your visibility by repurposing your interviews. This really is the visibility multiplier. Podcast guesting is not just being a guest on podcasts. That's the bare minimum. You really get out of podcast guesting what you put into it. So the podcast guests that implement everything I'm talking about in this session will see far greater results than those who just do interviews randomly and then wait to see what happens. Whenever I talk to an entrepreneur who hasn't worked with Interview Connections, but says, yeah, I've done podcast guesting and I didn't really get any clients, they're going on random shows that maybe just reach out to them on LinkedIn and invite them onto their podcast. They don't promote it. They don't repurpose it. They don't stay in touch with the host. They do the bare minimum. And then I wonder why it's not working. So you want to implement what I'm talking about today in the whole masterclass to see results from your podcast interview strategy. So we're going to dive right into it. You ready? Let's go. So this is what you can do to maximize your ROI and really 10x your visibility through podcast guesting. It all starts with as soon as you get booked. Before the interview happens, post on social media that you booked an interview. Now, I want to really clarify and make a distinction here that podcast guesting isn't a marketing strategy that is meant to replace social media marketing. I still would expect that you're going to continue posting on social media because that is where your existing audience is connected with you. That is where your existing audience follows you. What your podcast interviews are going to do is they're going to fuel your content marketing strategy with your own audience. So you go get interviewed on somebody else's podcast, you go get interviewed on somebody else's podcast, get visibility to their audience. And then you're going to take that experience, both the content when it goes live and the experience of actually getting booked, and use that as content for your own audience. So number 1, before the interview, post on social media that you're booked for a podcast interview. I am telling you that when you just post little updates, little real time, what's happening behind the scenes, what's happening in your business, your audience will be really compelled by that. They'll be interested in it. I just did a post today just saying, hey, this was our goal of how many members we want to sign up this month. This is where we're at. I'm so excited. Like that little behind the scenes, people feel really invested in that. So when you say, I'm so excited to be doing podcast interviews this year, I just booked an interview. That alone will get some engagement and it'll wake people up who maybe have been connected with you for a while, but don't really feel that engaged with you because they haven't seen anything that has a lot of energy. Show your audience that you are in demand. Communicate to your audience that you are a speaker with an expertise with stories that other hosts want to talk about. So I grabbed a screenshot. So I did a Instagram live. It's like a 3-minute live stream. Wasn't anything too big. These are all simple tips. These are not meant to take you a ton of extra time or effort, but I had a podcast interview coming up. And in the 15 minutes or so that I was getting ready, I'm like, oh, I'll just put my camera up and I'll go live and I'll just explain how I'm getting ready for the interview. And that's exactly what I did. How I get ready for my podcast interview. And look, that's got 18 likes, a comment, a couple shares. And so it just gives people that behind the scenes. I talked about, just the sound, the appearance. I literally said, oh, I got my lip gloss here. Like just humanize yourself, go live, post. You can create a lot of content just from the experience of getting interviewed. Okay, day of the recording. So when you are actually getting ready to be on the podcast, share a selfie with your microphone and your headphones. Just grab your phone, share a little picture. It just gives you some additional content that shows that you're in action. Post about your recording session. Tell people how it went. So again, use that experience to inspire new content to share with your audience. And then immediately after, go live or share a story or a post. Just pop on and continue to bring your audience behind the scenes of your day-to-day life, running your business. That's really going to create more connection and have your audience feel like they know you, that they're your friend, that they can trust you and that they admire you. Tag the host when you do this, tag the podcaster that's interviewing you, and share a couple takeaways too. You can share a story that you shared in the podcast interview. So post on social media before, during, and after about the experience, tag the host. That is going to just bring more energy into your social media content and make it a lot more effective. Great question in the chat. David asks, what IP rights do we need from the podcaster to reuse their content? So podcasts get published online, they go up on YouTube, and you can share and repost any podcast that you see. So technically, like if I publish a podcast interview, it's my podcast, but I want my guests to repost it and to reshare it. Podcast hosts want you to repurpose and reshare it. I always say they took the time and money and resources to edit it, to publish it. So give them credit, tag them, make sure you're helping to give them visibility to your audience. But hosts want you to repurpose and use the interview. All right. So when the episode goes live, promote it. So promote the episode. Most podcasters are going to send you an email like the one you can see on my screen here. This is an email that I received when my interview on Gratitude Geek went live. And the host sent me a link to the episode. She asked me, leave a review, add yourself as my guest on Podchaser. She gave links to all her pages. She said you can become a YouTube collaborator on this episode here. She also gave me a bunch of graphics that I could use to promote the episode. So most podcast hosts are going to give you kind of a packet of resources. When I have an episode that goes live, I will give my guest a few different templates of what they could post on social media. I'll give them a bunch of social media clips, which I'll tell you more about in this session about repurposing your podcast interviews into clips. But when the episode goes live, make sure you get it out there. As a podcaster, as somebody who can see how many downloads my podcast episodes get, the podcast episodes that I promote get more downloads. That's just a fact. When you promote a podcast, more people listen to it. So I really think this is because, and this is a little bit of a mystery in podcasting, there's no way to know exactly how many people subscribe to a given show. Even the host, I don't know how many subscribers I have. I know how many downloads I get on an episode when I publish it. So I'm like, okay, it's probably about that many people that actually subscribe to the show. But a lot of people don't subscribe to podcasts. They don't actually follow them. They will listen based off of different episodes. Like, I'm interested in this episode. And now that a lot of people listen on Spotify, there's you can follow a podcast on Spotify, but you can't subscribe. So if you've listened to a podcast before, it'll kind of come up as a suggested episode. But then if you don't listen, it doesn't. I'm going so off track. That was not even in my outline, but I just wanted to share that a little bit. Okay. All right, now let's talk about repurposing with AI. This is really the crux of this session, is really how to repurpose your podcast interviews. So I want you to give me a yes in the chat if you want some tips on how to use different AI tools to turn your podcast interviews into short form content. And yes, King James Positive said, yes, like, share, comment, and repost, make a promo for sure. Also post on your socials to promote the upcoming episode. 100%. Absolutely. Yes. So you definitely want to be promoting your episode. This also keeps you in the good graces of the podcast host. If you don't promote your episode when you're a guest, that host is not going to like you as much. They're going to be like, what the heck, So you definitely, that is a really simple way that you can nurture your relationship with the host, is to promote it. Okay, let's keep going. Short form videos. So social media prefers short form videos, right? People go to podcasts and YouTube if they want to watch a long form content. Like just last night, like 300,000 other people, I watched the interview between Alex Ramosi and Tony Robbins. I watched that on YouTube, right? But I'm not going to watch an hour-long video on Instagram. I got way too distracted. Not going to happen. But Instagram, TikTok, even LinkedIn, Facebook, social media thrives on quick, short form content. They want to see short little clips. And if they like that clip and they want to see the whole interview, they'll go find it on YouTube or podcasts. So you can use tools like Opus.pro or Veed.io. I use both of these tools to quickly edit clips from longer form content. And I'm telling you, these tools are so simple. You can take any public YouTube video, put it into Opus.pro, and within 10 minutes, you'll have 30 different clips that you can use on social media. And this is what it looks like. This is a screenshot of Opus. It'll give you a rating. So 99, 98 out of 100. That's how good the hook of the video is. Because if you have a short form video on social media, the first 10 seconds, it's got to be compelling enough to make people want to keep watching. So Opus will rate the hook of the interview. They'll rate the beginning of the video to tell you how good the hook is. And then you can download and upload that. So this is actually what we do for our clients at Interview Connections. As long as you're an active member, we'll just do this for you. We have an Opus.pro account. And so you don't even have to worry about doing it yourself if you work with us. One interview should give you a whole month's worth of daily content because you can get about 30 different clips from one podcast interview. All right, YouTube strategy. You can also repost interviews on YouTube. So this is a screenshot of what it looks like. When you look at a video on YouTube and you click share, this is what's going to pop up. Click create post and then write a little post. And then now it'll go onto your YouTube channel. So you can do this with all of your podcast interviews that get published on YouTube, which is most of them because a lot of podcast hosts use video now. So repost your interviews on YouTube to get your content into as many places as you can. I know, and I'm sure a lot of you can attest to this as well. You have people that follow you on certain platforms. I have people that follow me on LinkedIn, but are not Facebook friends with me, and they don't follow me on Instagram. But I got to post to LinkedIn or they're not going to see it. I have people that will watch every Instagram story, but we're not connected on LinkedIn. I have people that will read all of my emails, but aren't connected with me anywhere on social media. So my point is that you want to repurpose your interviews and get them out into as many places as possible so you capture as many of your followers as you can. Film the interview. This is where my special guest is going to come in. Film the interview. So what you can do when you're a podcast guest, because your podcast appearances are 99% of the time going to be virtual, you're going to be in your home office just like I am. You can film yourself being interviewed and then use that content on your social media. So this is just a screenshot of our client, Dr. Victoria Batesman, she's a cosmetic dentist in LA and Beverly Hills, and she's a beautiful office space. And she's got her microphone. She's in this photo, she's being interviewed on a podcast on her laptop, but her team films her being interviewed. It's actually what I'm having done right now. So you can put your phone up on a tripod, or you can literally have your child filming you. This is my daughter, Lucy. So this is one of the most fun ways to incorporate your kids as they get old enough to, be able to hold a camera steady enough. But I love this because I love kind of bringing my kids into the business as much as I can, which is not really that much. But she's a 10-year-old girl. So girlfriend likes to make videos. She likes to play on the phone. And so they got home early all this week for midterm exams. And I said, why don't you come in? I'm doing my masterclass. She's sitting here quietly. You might have heard her sneeze 5 minutes ago. And I said, film me. And so I've been posting videos on my Instagram this week of me teaching this masterclass. But on Instagram, you can see it from the perspective of you can see my laptop in the video because she's filming me from not just the Zoom recording. She's like, cool, my work here is done. I'm going to go. So if you don't have a child or somebody that can film you, you can also use something to hold your phone. So you can get something like this where you just put your phone in. It sits on your desk. You can put it off to the side and film yourself that way. So get creative, but these are solutions that you can make happen very inexpensively and very easily. So film yourself being interviewed. It'll create really great content. And if you want to see the clips that I'm talking about, go to our Instagram at Interview Connections, watch the stories that I'm posting this week, and you'll see how I am taking these videos that Lucy is filming of me teaching this masterclass and then using them on social media. All right, so content preferences matter. Your audience is made up of people who prefer to read, who prefer to listen, and who prefer to watch videos. So if you only rely on one type of content, you're going to miss the readers. You're going to miss people who prefer other forms of content. Just as a little informal poll here, put which form of content you prefer to consume. Do you prefer to read? Do you prefer to listen? Or do you prefer to watch video? Just out of curiosity, how do you prefer to consume your content? We've got read and watch, listen and watch, listen and read, watch video. There is a whole mix of preferences here. And a lot of the times I'll work with coaches who want to leverage podcast guesting because responding to questions and being in conversation is how they prefer to create content. But they'll say, I have a dirty little secret. I don't listen to podcasts. And I'm like, that's okay. How you prefer to consume content does not mean that is the way you prefer to create content. They're two different things. So how you prefer, you've got to cater to all of your different people in your audience if you're going to capture as many people as possible. Okay. So remember that. And on that note, let's talk about repurposing your podcast interviews and catering to those readers. You can take a transcript of an interview, and if the host doesn't transcribe it, you can put MP3 of anything into like Otter. There's lots of different transcription tools online, and get a whole transcript of the interview. And then use AI tools like ChatGPT to create written content, blog posts, email content, social media captions. You can even turn it into a book. This is the book that I self-published in 2017. It is still on Amazon if you want to get it. But I basically repurposed my podcast interviews into a book. It was 2017, so I didn't use ChatGPT. I worked with a ghostwriter, somebody who helped take my IP. I prefer to speak my content. Sometimes I like to write. I've been writing a lot more this month, but take your written content, repurpose it, write a whole book. What's stopping you? All right. I'm not numbering these. I don't know why I said that. So audio stacking. Create a Spotify playlist of all of your interviews. This is perfect for your leads, for your prospects, and warm referrals who want to get to know you better. So this is a screenshot. We have several clients that do this where they'll create a playlist of all of their interviews on other people's podcasts, and then they'll link to that on their media page, or they'll put it in their Instagram link tree. So that way, if somebody's considering working with them, they can go through and listen. I mean, Mel has 25 hours of content. She has 25 hours of being interviewed on podcasts. And so this is a great way to have all of your podcast appearances in one place. Now I'm going to give you a few different sales secrets because I love sales. I love sales so much because sales is really just finding the most effective ways to serve somebody and to move people who are the right fit for your offer into action. So I love it. Okay. Sales tip number 1, share podcast interviews with you as a guest with your leads before a sales call. This is a shift. I will pull back the curtain a little bit and tell you, we've made a lot of changes in interview connections over the last 6 to 8 weeks. Huge overhaul in December. We used to tell just like packages of bookings, and now we have a monthly membership model, which I told you about yesterday. And so there's been a lot of changes. We've also made a lot of changes just into our sales and marketing systems. And one of those changes is that we used to always send the price sheet before the call. It was like, that's the thing we wanted people to see. Here are the prices. Here are the prices. And we made a shift where it's not necessarily that the prices are secret, but instead we're sharing value. We're sharing interviews. We're sharing case studies. We want as much as possible before somebody gets on a discovery call, I want them to have consumed content from us. I want them to have heard me speak, because then by the time they hear the offer and the prices, they get it. whether or not they sign up, whether or not they can afford it, at least at that point, they understand the value. So I would make that shift. That's what I would recommend because it's really working for us is lead with value before a sales call rather than just the price. So sharing your podcast interviews before a sales call, before a discovery consultation call is a really great way to have people show up to a call with you being informed, educated, and persuaded. All right, number 2, email engagement. So who here has an email list? Tell me in the chat, yes, if you have an email list where you have former clients, current clients, prospective clients on an email list. So what you can do to create great content for your email list is to share your interviews with your email list. I love tracking all of the data that goes along with email marketing. I love looking at open rates and click-through rates and how long somebody reads an email. Did they browse it? Did they just open it and close it? I love all that stuff. And what I can tell you for sure is that whenever I send a podcast to my list, the open rate is so much higher. And what I do is I put the word podcast in like parentheses or brackets, whatever you call them, but podcast and then the subject line. And so many more people open those emails because they want value and they know what they're going to get when they open that email. They're going to get a podcast. So that's what I would recommend to you is that you email your list and put the word podcast in brackets and then the title of the episode or, whatever you want to write for your subject line. You're going to get a lot more people opening that email. And it's so funny. I'm like, I don't even understand why this is, but I'll have people book consultation calls and sign up to work with us in response to an email with a podcast. It's not even like an email that says book a call and sign up, but they'll listen to the podcast and then themselves move themselves to a call. So it really does work when you lead with value and share with your email list the interviews that you're doing. And then showcase your podcast appearances on your website. You have people that find you from all different sources. You have people that probably find you on Google, referrals, social media. Tell me in the chat, how do your clients find you? What's your primary lead generation source right now? Is it Google search? Is it outbound DMs? Is it referrals, podcasts, social media ads? Okay, great. Google search so far, social media ads, LinkedIn and Instagram. By the way, the podcast I just released on the Interview Connections podcast is all about the automated DM strategy. So if you are interested in that strategy, I highly recommend listening to the podcast I put out this week on Interview Connections podcast. So, Heidi says I need a structure to evaluate that. That's real. I'll just touch on that really quick, Heidi, because this is important. You got to know where your leads are coming from. You can simply do it where there's a form. How did you hear about us? That's a very simple thing I would add into your conversion strategy where you have people opt into your email list. You can just say, how did you hear about us? So you can, and maybe have like a multiple choice option. Because I know I can run a list in HubSpot and see exactly how people heard about us. Because we asked them, did you find us on a Google search? Was it word of mouth? Was it social media? So that's something that you can do really simply. Okay. So you have people finding you through social media, LinkedIn, Instagram. You have people finding you through ads. They're going to your website. Now, when they go to your website, what are they going to find? Are they going to find that social proof? Are they going to see that you are an active speaker and an in-demand expert or not, right? Showcase your podcast appearances on your website, and you're going to convert and build trust faster with these leads that are coming from very cold sources. Remember, when people find you through advertising, which I know because we run a lot of ads, a lot of you found us because we ran an ad and you saw it and you're like, this is cool. But that's a very cold lead. Until you spend some time with me in this masterclass or listen to my interviews, you're like, I don't know, I just saw you for like 2 seconds on Instagram and it caught my attention. So if you have leads that are coming to you through sources that are pretty cold, then you've got to warm them up. Okay. You got to warm them up. And you can do that with podcast interviews. Get your podcast interviews on your website. This is an example of a media page. This is our client, Jonathan Bennett. He's an executive coach. He's worked with us for a long time. He's had a great experience with podcast guesting, and he has a screenshot of his website. You can go to clearlythen.com/podcast if you want to see it for yourself, but he's got his podcast guest one sheet on there. He's got some topics he can speak about. He's got a whole bunch of interviews that he's done as a guest. So you can go on here and basically see the interviews that we've booked for him as an example. But this is great because when people go to his website, they can very quickly see that he's an expert and what he speaks about. We also have Christina L. Woods. She also has a press page on her website with lots of interviews that she has done. She also has it organized. If you scroll down on her website at ChristinaLWoods.com, she has it organized where you can click different buttons to see different categories. So she's been on entrepreneur podcasts. She's been on podcasts for midlife women. So I think that's a really cool way to do it too. I promise you that if you repurpose your interviews consistently by implementing what I'm talking about in this session, if you promote your interviews strategically, and you get interviewed consistently on targeted podcasts, you will see meaningful business growth in your business this year. You can't not if you're implementing what I'm talking about today. But the missing piece for so many coaches is that they're just not getting booked consistently on the right shows. You can't consistently be implementing everything in this session if you're not on the right podcast multiple times a month. And that is why I founded Interview Connections. My dad, who was my first client, he's a business coach. He knew that getting on podcasts was the key to him reaching new audiences and attracting dream coaching clients. But he didn't have the time to go out and find the shows and pitch and get them booked. So I did that for him. And when I saw how effective it was for him and how much I enjoyed making those connections, I thought I need to provide this for more coaches. And that's why I founded Interview Connections. We are a done-for-you agency. I am not here to teach you how to pitch yourself. I'm here to do it for you so you can do what you do best and coach your clients. And I'm going to go through what it looks like to work with us. This is what's going to happen when we start working together. And if you're ready, you just go to interviewconnections.com/call to book your consultation call. By the end of February, you're going to have a tight, credible offer and a podcast ready message. You're going to get your podcast ready media kit, which is going to position you as an expert to podcast hosts. You're going to have your podcast one sheet. Remember, I showed you that yesterday. I'm the inventor of the one sheet. We're going to make yours for you. We're going to write it as well. I'm going to give you a template for a media page on your website so you can give it to your website person and have them set it up for you. We're going to write your one sheet copy. So you're going to get 4 to 6 topics and questions for your one sheet that are going to make you very bookable and set you up to share incredible stories as a podcast guest. By the end of February, you're going to be on your first 3 podcasts as a guest. You'll have feedback and a plan for future bookings, and you're going to have instant credibility in your field because when you start talking about the fact that you're getting interviewed on multiple podcasts, people will instantly see you as a credible resource. In the first 90 days, so by the end of April, you're going to be featured on at least 9 aligned podcasts. You should start seeing warm pre-sold leads hitting your calendar. You'll have joined 3 mastermind calls with 6 to 8-figure entrepreneurs that I lead. You'll have had 3 one-on-one coaching calls with your booking agent at Interview Connections. And you should have at least 2 months of daily social media content, video, short form video content from your interviews. These are some of our 90-day wins. You know, I make no promises. This is not a silver bullet. I'm not telling you all of a sudden overnight you're going to sign up and boom, all your problems are going to be solved. But this is what has happened from actual clients that we work with. This is what they tell us within the first 90 days. A $21,000 client before any interviews have even been published. The first podcast host that interviewed Ben became his client. Our client Kristen was booked on 2 summits, one with 80,000 registered and one with 500,000 enrolled. And Christina Woods got booked to speak at a retreat where then she got multiple coaching clients before any interviews were even recorded. And why did that happen? How? She posted on social media. She implemented the advice that we gave here in this session. By this time next year, by January 2027, this will be a repeatable, proven business growth channel for you. These are some of the results that we see after 1 year of podcast guesting, paid speaking engagements. Our client, Timothy Wingate Jr., has gotten multiple paid speaking opportunities from a podcast host that we booked him with. Having a third of the podcast hosts become clients. It's a very, very common testimonial we hear is that multiple podcast hosts who interviewed them became their client. 10x email list growth. and a 4x return on investment. Scarlett, who's going to be chatting with you tomorrow in session 4, has seen a 52% return on her investment, and she has a 45 plus hour library of content on her Spotify playlist that her leads can listen to decide they want to work with her. And if you do your part and we don't hit the 3 bookings in a given month, we keep working until we do, and we don't charge you anymore, right? There's no excuses. There's no hidden fees. You pay for results. So I want you to go to interviewconnections.com/call to book your discovery call. We've got some bonuses for our January enrollment. You're going to get your custom podcast media kit, the one sheet, and the media page template. So you can be ready to get that up on your website. You're going to get some offer and positioning tune-up so that when you're on podcast, you're able to quickly convert those leads. You'll be in our private coach community. We have a school community, so you'll be in that. You'll be on our monthly mastermind calls and networking calls. And I am going to ship you a podcast microphone, a ring light, and headphones. You have the equipment you need to be a professional podcast guest. We are enrolling just 5. Actually, we had somebody sign up today. So just 4 more members in January. And the reason you should take action now is that your visibility for Q1 was likely already decided in 2025. The interviews that are going live right now were booked months ago. So this is really meant to position you for visibility throughout the rest of the year. Now, we do have some payment plans. You can pay for the entire year. You get a month free if you do that, or you can pay month to month. There is no long-term contract. This is a long-term strategy. I want to strongly recommend you make a commitment that you're going to do this long-term, but there's no long-term contract. This is a month-to-month membership. So what happens next? You're going to go to interviewconnections.com/call to book your discovery call. We're going to get really clear on your offer and create your media assets in those first 2 weeks of working with us. And you're going to start getting consistent podcast bookings with our gold membership. It's 3 bookings every single month. And this is going to become a compounding growth channel that brings you consistent leads and content every single month. So again, your visibility for Q1 likely was decided by whatever you did 90 days ago. So now we're talking about Q2. You sign up with us now, your interviews are going to start getting booked. You're going to have your first 3 bookings before the end of February. Those interviews are going to probably get recorded in March and go live starting in April. We are talking right now about your visibility for the 3 Q2, 3, and 4. Okay, Q2, 3, and 4. So if you want to make sure that 2026 is your best year, you've got to take action now, because every day that you wait, you're just pushing your visibility further into the future. That's just a fact. So book a call, interviewconnections.com/call, book a conversation. You're going to get on a call with either myself or Erica, and we're going to go through what your business is, what your goals are. I want to understand what is challenging you right now. What is your offer? Who's your target audience? If we can help you, we'll then welcome you into our membership, get your onboarding call scheduled right away. And if we can't, we'll let you know that too. But your first step is to book a call at interviewconnections.com/call. And we've got one more session for you tomorrow, podcast guesting success stories. Session 4, the final session, is tomorrow at noon, same Zoom link, same time. And the replays will be available until Sunday, January 31st. So book a call now at interviewconnections.com/call. And I cannot wait to welcome you into the Interview Connections membership. Thanks so much for being here live, and I will see you back here tomorrow for session 4.